Hi, welcome back to the Aftermath podcast. I'm your host, Jada. So I know we've been gone for a while, but we decided to bring it back with a very special episode. We have just a handful of our veterans here at Renzo Gracie Clarksville with us. And from my right to my left, I'm going to have them introduce themselves, their belt rank, what branch they served, how long they served, how many tours they did, and their position once they retired.
My name is James Gross. I'm a blue belt. I've been training for about 2 years now. I did 8 years in the Army. Started off as an infantryman and then moved into aviation. I've done 2 tours, and then I got out and continued contracting after that.
Name is Z. I'm a black belt. I'm retired from the military. I retired as a master sergeant. I was in infantry and then special forces, and I did 9 tours.
My name is Brian. Retired military. Did about 21 years in the Army and then retired. Did 9 combat tours. Spent just about 89 months in country. And then after that, I was the business operations manager for the National Predators. And now I've retired. But on the side, I'm also a contractor as well.
My name is James. I'm a black belt. I spent 10 and a half years in the military, where I started as a combat medic, left as a nurse, worked as a nurse manager for a while, and now I get the pleasure of hanging out with you guys and trying to share the art of Jiu-Jitsu.
Hi, my name's CJ. I'm a black belt. I did 10 years in the United States Coast Guard. I was involved with a lot of federal law enforcement. I was kind of like a cop on the water, boarding ships and boarding vessels. After that, I became a police officer in the greater Boston area, and I relocated to the Middle Tennessee area about 2 years ago.
I'm Harry. I did 12 years in the Army, started infantry, ended as an artilleryman. Got out, went to school, become an x-ray tech, and I've been doing that ever since. Been training for about 8.5 years, brown belt.
Nice. Name's Jasper. I've been training for almost 4 years now, purple belt. I was in the military for 23 years. The first 4 years were infantry, and then the last 19 and a half, 20 years were as a pilot in a Black Hawk. Too many tours to count, somewhere up above 15, right around 20 during the whole GWAT fun days.
Yeah, as you can tell, Renzo Gracie is just filled with just excellent resources and people that have served our country and continue to serve our community. So first question, I'm going to open it up to you guys. How did you learn about Jiu-Jitsu and what brought you through the door? Anybody can answer.
Your dad.
Well, I'll take for me, and some of you guys have been training longer than me. But what got me into Jiu-Jitsu is I had a different company. We did functional training. We had some guys that came in to get in shape for a Jiu-Jitsu tournament. We ended up training one of the people. Then they became a trainer, an employee of mine, who kept trying to introduce me to Jiu-Jitsu. So after about 2 years, I tried it. I did not like it. Got in there and I got smashed by just a bunch of big guys. And I was like, there's no art to this. You're just bigger than me. You know stuff that I don't know, and you're slinging me around. Gave it another 6 months, went to a seminar with Professor Samuel Braga, wonderful man, but also maybe 5'4", 135, 145 pounds. And I watched him, with a smile on his face, dismantle several large people in the course of 5 minutes. And I was like, whatever he's doing, that's what I want to learn. And it's like, that's Jiu-Jitsu. I said, no, you said what you were doing was Jiu-Jitsu. Whatever he's doing is what I want to learn. And they're like, no, that's Jiu-Jitsu. Got hooked, and I've been on that path ever since. And still talk to Professor Braga as often as I can. So that's what got me started.
I think as a soldier, I thought I was tough already. You know, I lived a life as an athlete and a relatively strong person in my mind. And then I joined the military, and I met people that actually trained to control another human being, right? And we did things called pitting in the military. Pitting, I don't know, that's like rolling, but they just called it pitting. Basically, you go against an opponent and you just try to kill each other in some form or fashion without punching each other. And I met guys that were trained, and they handed my ass to me, right? I didn't like feeling helpless. And, you know, a lot of ego made me want to learn because I just didn't like being helpless. And that is getting smacked with the truth. You know what I mean? You get smacked with the truth, and I couldn't deny it. I was like, well, I mean, it is what it is, and either I do something about it or I just avoid it at all costs. And I decided that violence, and even controlled violence, wasn't something that I wanted to avoid all my life.
There you go.
So I started learning how to do it because I didn't like being helpless.
All right.
For me, I started down a self-defense kind of thing. I initially got in, found some Krav Maga, and then didn't really like the way that didn't seem to fit what I was looking for, and started a few different other things, and then started doing Jiu-Jitsu after that, trying to fulfill that path, that journey. I don't know what the right word is, but once I came in the door, I knew I had found what I wanted to do. It's something I can do at an older age and be competitive and athletic and not worry about taking CTE at my age and still being, you know, I don't know what's the right word, athletic? I don't know.
Viable. I like it.
Anybody else? Okay, I'll move on to the second question. So I know y'all said that you've kind of found this and like you keep coming back. So why is it that you keep coming back? Like jiu-jitsu, the gym, like what keeps you motivated to keep doing this?
Mental health, lack of boredom.
Okay.
I found it when I was in a rough patch.
Okay.
And of course, you know, your dad, he was training me anyway. And he brought me in and I found a way to get rid of energy in a positive manner without going to jail.
What kind of energy?
We love that.
Very angry energy.
Without going into big details, tell me a little bit about that time.
Used to be married, was very happy, and then it went very not happy. And my personality has always been, you know, you hit everything head on. You don't go around the corner, you don't cut an angle, you just knock it down and smash it. And I knew that if I did that, then my, at the time, 14-year-old son would lose his dad, be stuck in a situation where he shouldn't be. And James brought me and said, try this. So I tried it and I was like, this is a good way to help. And I've just never left. And, you know, we get guys in who need help and we help them. And that's what we do.
You know, your mindset that you said, just hit it head on, smash it, I think that's very beneficial in a military setting. In a lot of settings, that's black and white.
Yeah.
You know, there's the thing, go handle it, and then move on. And then it doesn't work so well in the nuances of life.
No.
And the complexities of life. And I think jiu-jitsu is a lot similar to that. Like, you can try to smash through something, but when somebody has good technique, they understand the principles better, the smashing doesn't work. You get tired, and they end up using that against you. You know, leverage and efficiency of their movements. So it's like, it is great. It's a great comparison, I think. And I think all of us probably experienced a little bit of black and white mentality, like go through and accomplish that. Here's the solution, move on. It doesn't work with relationships very well. It doesn't work with the complexities of everyday life, the ups and downs, because there's no just smashing and going through. Like, there's feelings involved. And
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I'll kind of caveat on caveat. I shouldn't say that. Right? It's terrible.
I'm gonna piggyback on.
Sorry, I didn't mean to piggyback. Let me piggyback on what the commander said there. But you know, I mean, I think in the military, I think we all learn, especially if you're kind of a combat arms guy and you spend your time in the wood chipper all the time. You add violence to your problems, and then when your problem isn't solved, you add more violence, and you just continue to add more violence and aggression until the problem's solved. And you know, that just doesn't work in a social setting back here. And I think a lot of guys also dealing with some sort of post-combat stress, post-traumatic stress disorder, things like that, or just general stress that we're dealing with on a daily basis. I think one of the things about jiu-jitsu is, and sports in general are a lot like this, but it kind of creates a sensory deprivation chamber on the mat. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's really hard to focus on all the other issues that you have going on outside of the mat or wherever it is that you're playing sports, specifically jiu-jitsu, specifically on the mat. Because I don't know if you've ever tried to think about anything else that's going on, but I'll tell you, like, if somebody like Z gets a hold of you on the mat, right, you don't have a lot of time to think about anything else other than dealing with that issue that's in front of you right there. So it gives your brain just this little space that you may not think you even need. But then you come in here and all of a sudden you get this little bit of break, right? And it helps you to kind of reset a little bit. That way when you go back out to deal with those stressors and back out to deal with whatever problems, now you've had that little bit of break, you're reset, and you can attack that stuff throughout the day. And it's funny because I think all of us, and I've talked to all of us at some point, right? You know, you take 2 days, 3 days off of the mat, right? And then you come back, like I just had to take an entire week off of the mat. I came back to the mat, you know, figuring out that I obviously don't know any jiu-jitsu at all, right? Because it's just terrible to take a week off, right? But that too, like, you know, you come back and it's I don't know, it's really just it's just an amazing place to be with positive people pushing you in the right direction, and I think that's key too, right? You can be aggressive, right? And you can sort of be in a negative mind space, but you're doing it in a safe, controlled area with people that understand you and can read that.
Yeah.
Amen.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm gonna piggyback off of
I know.
what the
You can tell who all the NCOs are. Senior NCOs. Senior
But for those of you that are military, you kind of follow what we're doing. But it's cathartic. Whenever I miss days of training, and it's weird, you get an itch. Now it's funny, your body feels better because it actually healed. So so you're not hurting, you're not sore anymore. But then your soul is like, I need to do something. I'm not used to being able to get up and walk straight, and my neck and my hands don't hurt. It's cathartic. You need to get back. And so we also were talking about this before, not just, so if we're talking military to civilian life or personal life after that, the military, you wake up, you have the mission, you have the thing, and it's very detailed. It's structured. I know I have to do this, this, that, and this, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this. In the personal life, you may start out structured, but okay, team just pulled out of the thing. Just find out I had to let somebody go. A hammer mysteriously came through the window. You know, life, it happens. What jiu-jitsu helps you do is kind of funny when Brian said, like rolling with Z. It's really hard to think about all of that other stuff when someone is actively trying to choke you. However, when I better learn how to adapt to this person choking me, now I can defend the choke and I start setting up my own offense. Then after a while, not only am I defending the choke, setting up my own offense, I'm leading this person down the road to get them to move the way I want to do. And you find that those skills start to translate, and it helps you in all of that. And you're like, oh, I needed to come in for that hour-long session or 90-minute session so I could go back out and figure out better ways to deal with the hammer coming through the window and all the other things. So it's a great spiritual and mental reset, at least for me. That's kind of what I get out of it.
What do you think?
I agree. I started jiu-jitsu kind of for the same reason most people do. It's
Take your time.
That's okay.
It's a difficult situation, right?
is.
It's something. It's hard to.
The warmer?
Yeah. I mean, really, it becomes a really emotional situation. I think because we all, we can all see what's going on in our hearts and in our minds, right? And we know the struggle that everyday veterans feel every single day, right? And it comes out as an emotional situation, right? For all of us. Usually, it comes out as a very emotional situation when you're at home, when you're by yourself, because that's how we deal with all of our problems, right? But now you're coming in here in a group setting with a group of people that understand you, right? And somebody said to me once, they said that, I could tell you were a veteran. And when we started rolling, and I was like, why do you say that? Like, because I can see it in your eyes. The minute you start to roll, everything becomes fight or flight, right? Because it's an instinctual thing for you, right? To just automatically feel someone's hands or arms around my neck. And we all know that's a finite situation for us. So learning to get through that, like James was saying, chess over checkers type situation, right? So learning to deal with all of your problems, it's something that we're all starting to do as a group and work through some of these emotional situations with chess over checkers, right? So checkers, you just want to just get through the board as fast as possible. Chess, now you have a game plan. Right? You're coming at this and you're like, okay, I have a mental problem. I'm going to treat this just like jiu-jitsu by going to jiu-jitsu to help deal with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Don't be sorry. We're here to tell our stories.
Yeah. No, we're all good.
No, it's I started because of that mental health. I struggled with finding ways to address demons, you know,
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
and getting emotional in front of people. But coming in here, it's still hard, believe me. There's days I struggle to stay here, just being around people. But it's getting better because right now I want to run. But
Nope, this is good. This is good.
That's why we love you, brother.
Yeah.
Good time.
Hey, every time you say it, man, it gets easier.
it does. But yeah, no, because when I'm actively engaged on the floor, I can't think about other things.
Yeah.
And so coming in here, it's just part of my routine to like continue slaying those demons.
Yep.
So
It's super
it
hard
probably
to-
doesn't make sense to some people unless they've experienced whatever that trauma is. Like, I know everyone's got their own trauma. I've got mine for sure. But that's what drove me to find a positive way to address it, because I've done other things. I've been an athlete for a long time. I've done strength sports.
Yeah,
I've done,
we noticed.
but all of those things were not. Those were solo events for me. Like it was something I did on my own. So I still wasn't able to go. It was hard to even just be around other people. So I remember the first day I came in was actually down the road, and I made an excuse for my free class and I left. So, and it took 2 years later when I came in here, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm in." And
And now he launches everybody to the moon and back.
yeah, that first class I was hooked. So I knew that was what I needed, and
But we're glad.
it's been great to people see me struggle, and it's
Hey,
yeah.
that's for me. That's an testament to two things. One, it's a testament to the creation of a place where somebody can come and keep working through that, and it's not just getting beaten down, but there's the environment around that's been created here that allows people to come in knowing, because there's nothing harder to have this emotional frustration, and then throw on top of it, you're learning a brand new skill where you're 50 years old,
Yeah.
you're strong as shit. And you got this 18-year-old kid who's wrapping you up in a pretzel, and yet you're still showing up and putting yourself to get to that long end.
Yeah.
And again, testament to you for fighting through that, because those first 6 months as a white belt, you learn nothing other than you suck. That's the only thing you learn in the first 6 months. And thank you for creating the environment and the space for us to come here and feel like we can, let the emotions out and get the help that's needed. So that's one of the nice things, and especially for military personnel, we got a shit ton of them that come in here. So thank you, both of you.
That's awesome. I'm glad you said it.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And I've been a guy who's had hard time dealing with emotions, and even much like Harry was talking about, just smash through things. Like that was how I dealt with the emotions, right? And if you talk psychology, they talk about anger is the easiest emotion. So I think some of us start getting on autopilot through our time in life, and it's like, well, anger, something happened, anger, you hurt me, anger, right? And learning to work through the process of the myriad of emotions on the spectrum is hard, because it's not black and white. It's a spectrum of emotions that you just have to work through, and then it's not all just I'm mad. So learning to cry and going through those things, man, it's adaptation. And one thing I think that would define a good strong soldier or a good, strong human being is the ability to adapt, right? Sometimes it's harder for soldiers to adapt than it is for people from other professions because we're so hard-headed and we've been successful to some degree doing it the way we've always done it. Like, it's hard to tell a man that's strong and has done a lot of things that are considered in our society to be great things and tell them that, hey, you need to change some things because, hey, it got me this far. Like, why would I change now? You know what I mean? I'm strong.
Yeah.
And then to take that, swallow that hard pill of I need to change something and it's not enough. And how I've been doing it and what's gotten me through all of adulthood needs to be tweaked.
Yeah.
Right? And tweaked is, the conservative way of putting it. You need to fix a lot of shit. Right? So, like crying, facing those emotions, and even the jiu-jitsu, like a man that's strong that comes in here and says, basically, I feel weak again. I feel vulnerable again. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
And then you have to, another testament to a strong soldier is facing the truth. If I come in here and I'm getting wrapped up and I feel vulnerable, maybe there's something I need to do about it. If I come in here and I feel tears welling up in me because of the shame and guilt or vulnerability I feel, maybe that's telling me there's some work to be done. Don't lie to myself and avoid it, right? So when guys are doing things like exposing themselves in front of other people and their emotions, like that's a testament to adaptation, and adaptation takes strength, more strength than what it took to get us through all our military careers. It takes a lot of strength. I can't just do what I did the whole time before and get away with it. That's the easy way. That's the freaking easy way.
Well, the other part about that is we were all able to layer ourselves, whether it was ego, whatever your armor was, right? They kept people from touching you so that you could be that strong soldier. You could be that guy.
Wear that facade.
To wear that facade so they couldn't get through. And then it sounds so stupid, but then you come to jiu-jitsu and you're getting mandatory hugs. And it's like we say it all the time. You mandatory cuddling. And then you're like, I'll never forget it. I think it was my second year of doing it. I was a blue belt. And it was just the demons from fucking past relationships, military, just everything was just, for some reason that day, it was all on me. And actually, I think I was rolling you. It was I think it was you. You were, no, it was Manny. And we're rolling. And just trying to kill each other. And then he just stopped. And he just held me down. And I was like, and I don't know why, it just started to bug the shit out of me. I'm like, let me go, Manny. He's like, no, we're going to rest right here. And I've seen some of you guys do it. And we do it, and we're laughing because we all do it to people now, and we don't think about it. And we'll just hold them. We're like, nah, we're going to rest right here. And I just started feeling all of the things that I used to use to keep people away just start to break down. And of course, I'm crying. I wiped my tears off on his gi because it was sweat, not crying. Right. And then we finished the roll. But then, like every roll after that, it was so wild. Yeah. And I'll still do it. And it's weird. And if you may feel it, you may not realize it. We all know. Like, we'll hold a brother. Like, we don't even know. Like, we know it and not knowing it. Like, we just hold him in a position just for a little bit. Just a little bit.
That's the problem with that adaptation. It ain't easy.
It ain't.
It's a simple word, really, but
it's hard.
It is hard to do. It's a lot of suffering to adapt, especially for those of us that kind of push back. Yeah. It might take a couple of running into the wall, maybe 1,000 maybe times running into the wall before I'm like, you know what? Where's the door?
Yeah.
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 Right. It ain't easy, but
yeah.
what? And we know this. What thing of value came easy though?
Nothing.
What have you earned that you think is valuable that you didn't work for or you didn't suffer for, or didn't cause tears or anger or pain, or just searching within yourself like what? I can't name a thing.
Nope.
My marriage,
CJ
my family, my life with my kids, like all that's hard.
Yep.
All that is so hard. The hardest things in my life are the most valuable things to me. And jiu-jitsu not just dealing with the opponent, whether they're strong, tough, good at jiu-jitsu or not. I deal with me. You deal with you. I'm dealing with me the whole time. Like, and I don't really think like, well, John, if he would stop doing this, I'm thinking about, I need to do this. It's like ultimate self-responsibility, right? That's how I look at it.
Okay.
That's why I continue coming in too, because it is hard. It's very hard, and I've always enjoyed the grind and the struggle of something. So
It's purpose.
it's purpose.
You're
Exactly.
home then. Congratulations.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Never gets easy.
And I think people don't realize how important purpose is to veterans, right? Because when you're in the military, you're always given, even as the lowest private, you're given a task, and you have to accomplish that task, right? And that's your purpose. What is your task and purpose? That's what they say all the time. What is your task and purpose, right? And then you get out and you do.
Microcosm of my life.
It really is.
We need a task.
It really is, right? So, and then when you've been however long you've been doing, so you did, maybe you were just in for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, doesn't matter. You've been ingrained in that whole idea that I have a mission and I need to accomplish that mission. And there's always a chasing, right? Whether it's you're chasing, the next rank, whatever it is, if you're chasing whatever school you're going to next, whatever it is you want to get better in your career or do what you want to do in your career, there's always that in the military. Then you step out and maybe it's not so defined for you. The whole process, there's no manual to anything. And there's a manual, everything is made for the stupidest person on the planet in the military, right? The instructions are on the side. There's no instructions on the outside here. And then we all think we know because we were civilians before we joined the military. Then we get out of the military and we realize we actually have no idea what we're doing. And then, so what is our purpose now? What is it that we do? So some people bury it in business, some people bury it in whatever it is. But that becomes a life thing that you need to handle. This is kind of something that it's really on you. If you want to come to jiu-jitsu, you come to jiu-jitsu. If you don't want to come to jiu-jitsu, you don't come to jiu-jitsu. So it's really your purpose, and you have to make it happen. But it also gives you something to chase to, give you something to think about, something to, like me, I'm the whitest of white belts, right? Like
Not even.
He's light.
awful, right? So anyway, I appreciate all the positive reinforcement, everybody. Thanks. Anyway, white belt, terrible at jiu-jitsu.
Fishing for a compliment at this point.
Right. Anyway, but that, I've got a much longer way to go than everybody that's sitting here at this table. But I'm really excited about that journey. Like, what's that going to take me, right? 50 years, whatever it takes to get there. Whatever it takes, I've got that journey now. I'm on that path, and I know that's what I have to look forward to. And at any day, like Monday through Sunday, I can always get there to take the next step, to have something to do. So no matter what's going on in my life, I know, okay, this insanity, this pain is temporary. Here shortly, I'm going to go get some different pain, but it's a very different type of pain, right? It's more exciting stuff.
Okay, everybody has kind of hit on this already, just talking about how jiu-jitsu parallels into your life and with your military background. But if you guys could just explain that a little bit more, like I know for most of y'all, you said it's the mental clarity and just having that structure and that purpose. But why else is like jiu-jitsu parallel into your life with your military background and just like having a goal in jiu-jitsu and having a goal in life?
CJ?
I started training in jiu-jitsu in 2006, and it was really just by accident. My cousin owned a gym, and he was a brown belt at the time, and he said I can train for free. And I had actually gotten into a fight with a friend who was drunk, and he thought I was trying to steal his girlfriend, which wasn't true. And
Probably was.
I
It
had-
probably was.
Right. Yeah. We won't read too deep.
I was an average wrestler in high school, and I was already probably 20, 21, so it was like 3 years later, and I'd stopped training in wrestling, and just that little bit of training that I had helped me get the better of him and stop the fight and neutralize him. And after that, I was like, hey, I can't rest on my laurels and say, well, I used to wrestle, and that's when I started training jiu-jitsu, and that's when it opened a new door. And that was in 2006, and I didn't realize what I was starting, but I'm glad I started it, because since then, jiu-jitsu has been one of the only constants in my life, right? It's been through a lot of trial and tribulation, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of injuries, but it's always been there to go back to. And sometimes it's been hard to go back to jiu-jitsu, because coming back from injury, or it's probably the hardest thing I've ever done and the most rewarding thing I've ever done at the same time. And everyone here at this table can probably relate to that. And there's so many benefits to jiu-jitsu. and I'm going to touch upon just a couple right now, but most people don't realize just how helpless they are. And Jiu-Jitsu helps you.
So true.
Jiu-Jitsu helps you realize that, right? It puts you in a pecking order, and you have so many people on the outside that are walking around, and they just have no idea how helpless they are. And especially once I became a police officer, it allowed me to train with more of a purpose, right? Because Jiu-Jitsu at that point in time, it could quite possibly save my life or save the life of someone else. So I started doubling down even more, training harder as a police officer, because if I ever had to use it, I wanted to be certain of my skill set. And just because I did jiu-jitsu, right, there's a lot of dangers on the street, there's a lot of dangers everywhere. It didn't mean I was going to be invincible, right? But all the blood, sweat, and tears that I put in the mat over the years, I would doubt a person trying to bring me harm on the street would put as much time on the mat as I did, right? Because most people who are very respectable and very good at something like that, they're not out there breaking the law. So it allowed me to walk around with a certain confidence, right? I didn't look for trouble as a police officer, but if it happened and it found me, I was more than comfortable to go hands-on with the biggest guy in the room, because I had been in that situation a lot before, right? And I always tried to get police officers to train, and I would invite them to train, because nobody wants to feel helpless on the street the first time when someone is trying to take your life. And God forbid, I've never had to feel that and feel helpless. I've used jiu-jitsu a good number of times on the job, but I never felt helpless, and I always got the upper hand. But I've watched plenty of videos of dash cams and body cams, and I see police officers getting tackled, and it's like, man, if this guy knew a basic sprawl and this basic position, he would have got the upper hand and been able to hold on top. And I was at a small department, and it was about 25 guys, and there were times where I'm patrolling the streets at night, and if something happens, backup is probably 4 or 5 minutes away. And 4 or 5 minutes away is an eternity when you don't know how to defend yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that.
No, yeah.
That's one of the things I think is funny. A lot of people don't realize how much can happen
1 minute.
in that
One minute.
little amount of time.
30
Do
seconds.
a
is a
30-second
long
Shark
time.
Tank right
And
there.
most people don't realize just how exhausting it is to
Yeah.
get into a physical altercation. And the average person, after 20 seconds, they're going to be completely exhausted because they don't know how to
see
use their
black
energy
people.
efficiently. So I mean, I'm always going to be forever grateful to Jiu-Jitsu and what it's brought to my life.
Nice.
They say a simple way of putting it that I use a lot, I heard somewhere during my adult life and training, is exposure leads to composure. I use that a lot. And that's a simple way of putting it. But with all the things that's going on in a real violent situation where people potentially really want to hurt you or will do anything to get away from you, right? Situations like that, you don't need extra problems. So I have enough. It don't mean it's going to take away fear. People get scared. If you're trying to threaten me, I'm going to be scared like anybody else, like all of us would. It's a human thing, right? But I'll have a pathway that leads to victory or success that I know about. And then when I do have the upper hand and I have some control, potentially, then I can think clearly. Maybe I can think about if I had to use something else or get away, or where are we in space? Am I in the front of a car, or is my kid safe while this is going on, right? So you just training like that, I feel like you're going to make better decisions in general.
Yeah. Well,
in those chaotic moments.
Well, and one of the things about police officers too is like I said, it gives you that confidence. And most police officers, they only know how to talk, and when things go badly, they go straight to their gun, right? And there's been a lot of things because they don't have that confidence. I still have the scars on my hand from getting into a fight on a rooftop with someone who was being suicidal, and it was about 25 feet up in the air, and we were rolling around on the roof, and he was trying to roll us and throw us both off the roof. And falling 25 feet, who knows what's going to happen and how you're going to land. And I had the right, based on like the situation I was in, I had the right to use lethal force, right? To pull out my gun and use it on him to stop the threat. And it never even came into my mind because jiu-jitsu was there.
Well, the composure you had.
And the composure. But a regular person who didn't train, they probably would have said, I have to use my gun. And now they're fighting, and now you introduce another threat into the equation. And now they're fighting over a gun, rolling around on the roof. Who knows what's going to happen after that? You know, so it's just such an invaluable tool to have. And like you said, it's just about the composure.
Nice. And
Exactly.
thank you for your community service as well as your military service.
See, I used to work at the local hospital, and the charge nurse come up to me one day and said, "I know you train jiu-jitsu. How come you never help us with the crazy people, the ones that are acting wild and crazy?" And I looked at him and I said, "I know I train, and I know what I train for. And we train to subdue and take them out of the fight, period." I said, now I have not personally been in a situation outside of the gym where I have to use my skills. I'm not going to start at work, because if they hit me the wrong way or if I get in the wrong mental attitude, then I'm guaranteed to break something. And then I lose my job. I can't support my family, all because you want me to come help. That's what the security guard's for. He's like, okay, I understand. And that was it. You know, he was fine with that. But knowing that most people don't know how to do it, but they're going to flail around and accidentally, you know, hit you in the nose or catch you and twist you the wrong way. Why would you put yourself in the situation to have to use it?
Well, to me, that's just a liability thing. Like, you're not
Exactly.
paying me, and I put my hands on somebody, then there's civil suits involved.
Yes.
Like, of course, if there's somebody needed my help and it was a life or death situation,
Oh.
I'm going to help you, right? Just like I'm going to help myself. But why would I do things when there's people in it? You got to protect yourself, you know what I mean?
Yes. And
Unless
somebody
you
else's
got
job.
thousands of dollars that you want to pay somebody.
I know for me, it's the health benefits are astronomical. Not just the mental, but the health. As the oldest gentleman sitting at the table,
You got me.
the my level of physical fitness has increased significantly in 4 years. My flexibility, my mobility have all done tremendous. Now I get little nicks here and there, bad, you know, knees get tweaked and stuff like that, and it takes a little bit longer to recover. But
Yeah, you look good for an 80-year-old man.
Yeah.
Solid.
that's your mom.
Oh,
No, just the physical benefits also of, you know, staying active, staying physically fit, strength training, because you try and push Z, you know, it doesn't work very well, you know.
At all.
My
workout.
bench press is
No kidding.
definitely not 230.
Yeah. Z cheats though. Like I'm saying,
I do not have a one level rep of a Z.
you're sitting there trying to do a single leg, and somebody reach over and grab you by your butt and put you in the back seat. Like that ain't jujitsu. That's that bullshit.
But there's a lot of physical benefits, you know, that come with it, because it's hard. Your heart rate spikes, your joints hurt, but keeping all those joints moving and flexibility and the strength as you get older is one of the most important things, is that strength.
Yeah, I mean, I make jokes all the time about it, but obviously, right? And we always make jokes about being the old guy in the gym and all those things like that. But I mean, that's why your class is so good, right? You got a bunch of older guys, right, and girls that want to get in here and move around a little bit, and maybe not worry so much about, you know, getting thrown around by the 18, 19, 20-year-old kid.
Fighting Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry, we see you. We know. Right? We avoid you with the open mat on purpose, you little Gumby. But I mean, to your point, it's perfect. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, if I wanted to go, I don't know, if I wanted to go to a boxing gym down the street or whatever, I mean, I could do that here, but if I wanted to if I wanted to go to a boxing gym or whatever, like, what am I really doing? Am I getting punched in the head over and over and over again? Here, you know, I'm 47 years old. I'm not old by any, you know, by anybody's standards, but I'm a little bit older, and things are, you know, and, you know, the veteran thing too, things are creaking, and the back, you know, just gets injured because I'm sleeping, you know, no other reason. So coming in here and rolling around a little bit, it's a controlled environment where you're not so worried about, you know, a massive injury happening, right? No, I'd say most injuries that I've seen, and I, you know, with my limited view of the jiu-jitsu mats, most injuries are almost done by somebody who either A, didn't tap, went above their skill level, trying to do something that maybe they shouldn't do. But it's almost never, you never see it with, advanced belts or something like that, hurting a lower belt. So when we come in here and we get to roll in your class specifically is pretty epic. So it definitely goes with the health benefits.
Yeah.
They keep talking about how they're old and like they get thrown around. That's absolutely not true. If either one of them, anybody on this panel gets a hold of you, you're fighting grips until the end of the match. That's crazy. Like
That's
old
how we
man.
have to survive. I don't have any skill.
Yeah, old man jiu-jitsu is old man grip, like literally just grips.
What are you
Like,
talking about? Look at these hands. I
like
can't.
that's crazy.
This coming from the youngest bully in the
That
room.
I am not a
Yeah,
bully.
absolutely.
I have to
Tries
be
to-
because they're gonna literally just their hand, and I'm like, okay, we're going down. Like,
I get on the mat with one of these guys and I just grab their belt and I just kind of wrap it around my hand, like and just try to hold on for 8 seconds and just do my best.
But honestly, that's the other part. And we joke about it, but it's also knowing that at our age, same thing. You walk in, you see the young buck come in, and you're like,
I still test myself.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
get,
yeah.
that,
It's like-
I'll get that
Yeah,
white
yeah.
belt in his first class. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take him. Knowing that.
Knowing.
Hey, if I'm on the street and I have this younger person, I have the ability to just control the situation.
Yes.
I'm not worried that, again, my mind is what's around me, who's around me, because I've been in that situation. It's nice.
That's a good point too, though, about somebody coming in off the street, right?
Yeah.
So like we get a lot of people, obviously people come in here that have never grappled, they've never done any martial art, they've never
and
done
it's
anything
usually
like that, right?
the younger soldiers that
And it's
test.
usually a younger soldier, right? So exactly. So when I came, not a pushover at all. When I came here, I had 21 years of combatives, and I was an infantry guy, so I spent a lot of the time in that bull ring, right? Banging heads and whatever. I came in here feeling initiated. I came in here feeling like I was going to have a leg up, and it was one of the reasons I chose jiu-jitsu. I was like, I've already been exposed to this. I understand the guard and the mount. I didn't realize there was 55 guards and 55 landscapes, and I didn't know all that, right? All I knew is if you go really hard in this direction, the guy's going to go the other direction. So I came in here definitely thinking, I'm solid. Like, this is good. I was not solid in any way, shape, or form. I learned really fast that there are gaps. And there are gaps in what I think I know. People see a soldier on the street, especially, racked out badges and tabs and all those things, and they look at that person as lethal, and they are. They're an extremely lethal individual. But as soon as somebody grabs a hold of you, if you don't have those skills, just like shooting skill sets, right? If you don't have those skill sets and you're going against somebody with those skill sets, it doesn't work out for you. So I definitely thought I knew what I was doing and learned really fast. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and that was something that made me chase it too. I was like, oh my God, this is awful. I could get murdered. And plus, it's never a guy like the big guys, right? It's a nerd in the corner, and like he weighs 85 pounds, and he's sitting there, and he's like, looks like, what's the kid's name?
Mikey
Yeah,
Musumeci.
right. Just like Darth Rigatoni, isn't that what they call him? He's,
Yeah.
he's like, I make pizzas, and he's a nerd, but he can murder you in about 4 seconds. It's always that guy that gets me.
Yeah. Or Octavius Allen. Haha.
Yeah, Octavius is another one.
Yeah.
If you met Octavius in a bar, you'd never go, that guy can absolutely murder me, pop my head off like a Pez dispenser. But he sure can.
I think sometimes we get confused. Like we get, false confidence or overconfidence. It's a common thing in humans in general, and I think it's especially common in males that were soldiers probably, right? We got some kind of confidence in us. It's not to take away from what we've done or what guys have done. It's just being tough, having a strong mind, strong will, strong heart.
Mm-hmm.
Those are good things, but that don't equal good at everything.
Nope.
Good to have those. Great to have those. It'll be tested when you expose your vulnerabilities on the mats, right? So being strong, I think a lot of guys, especially around this area, are strong. But when you you test the skills specifically, like can you actually hold a man down, right? And then can you pin him to the mat and control him so that you can isolate something in order to finish the fight or
Can you
simulate
get out from
finishing the
underneath
fight. Yeah, things like that. Like, so that it takes work, right? Some of us overestimate ourselves, and I've been guilty of that. I think all of us do it to some degree at layers or levels in our life, and you learn to be aware of it, right? Being tough, We come in like, I am going to be strong and I'm going to be tough. I've trained to be tough and strong. That don't equal success necessarily, depending on what you're trying to implement, what you're trying to do. You still got to know skills. You still got to practice the specific thing that you're trying to do, right? Tough and strong are attributes for sure, though. And same thing in here. We get in here and guys are tough and strong, but if you're tough and strong and you're being as tough and strong as you can be, how long is it going to last? We rolled 5 minutes in there.
Let's test that gas tank.
I remember when James started, he was getting tired within the first 30 seconds, of being on, and now he can go, all day, not miss a round, not miss a roll, not miss a round, because again he's.
And those veterans, we understand that like most of us have ran a long distance, and I know that my 400-meter sprint is not going to be the same as my 5-mile run. And you just got to be exposed to it for a little while, right? When I first started running, I was a sprinter as a young athlete, like doing all my sports involved running fast for a short amount of time and then taking a little break. All right, so then they're like, hey, let's just run a mile. And I'm like, wow. Even a mile I had to pace myself, you know what I mean? So then you run 5 miles in excess of that or whatever, and you're like, well, what can I maintain for a long period of time and still be effective? And then jiu-jitsu is kind of like a longer run. I got to pace myself. And then the more techniques you learn, the more you learn how to be more efficient. I'm not using strength for everything and letting the frames do the work for me sometimes, right? And I'm preemptively moving versus moving late when somebody's already putting all their weight on you. Right? So we learn that stuff. And that's
off
key.
Your knees.
I think to fight and be strong in general, or to last long in any kind of athletic event, you got to learn those efficiencies. And it forces you to learn them. I mean, you'll get a good workout either way, right? So if I get tired in a minute, but the goal is not to be just good at working out and get tired, because it's going to happen inherently. It's how can I maintain the ability to fight even though my body is degraded, my physicality is degraded, right? And you learn that pretty quick in jiu-jitsu.
You definitely figure out your muscle endurance, get your timing and stuff together, so it's cool. And once again, to me, it goes back to military, and that's why it sounds probably bad, but I got somebody who was prior service versus a civilian right off the street, and it's just because of my background. It's easier for me to give the parallels to the military person when I'm talking about, this is what we're doing, here's your objective, think of this is your range plan, and that's like just words that they can cue on and catch, and they understand the progression. And I think that's another reason why a lot of military adapt easier to jiu-jitsu. Understand belt system, rank structure, cueing, like all of this stuff goes back to the things that we understand and the mindset that we understand. So I think that helps. But then there's the things we already touched on, is what goes beyond. Most of us understand, like I said, we're going to do this and that's that, but we don't understand all the other significant rewards that happen with jiu-jitsu. Craziness of, here's a question. Think about, all right, you got your E5, you got your E6. Did you cry like a baby? No. But you got that next damn belt. They handed you that belt, and you just, the pride and all that, everything that welled up. It was
Crying because
so,
everybody's going to try to kill you.
Shark Tank after
Brian doesn't even know.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Brian, that blue belt, you're like, responsibility. They're taking it easy on me.
All these people are like, I can't wait till you get your blue belt. Why? You'll see. I'm like, what do you mean you'll see? You'll see. Walking
They
in
were
here,
taking it easy on me.
Yeah.
that's the best. Oh, I remember his blue belt roll.
Well, I mean, you're right though. Being promoted in the military, it was whatever.
Yeah.
When I got my blue belt here, I mean, I tried to not get. I'm an emotional person, obviously, but
We all are. Some of
It's
us.
just I was like, man, it felt great. It was but then reality sets in. It's like, well, do I really deserve this?
We
thing?
just put some responsibility on your
Yeah,
shoulders.
exactly. Do I really deserve this thing? And because I felt for like the first several months, I'm like, this is crap. Why do I even have this? I want to go back to being a white belt.
Yeah, that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
It happens at every belt.
It does.
It happens at every belt.
It took a few different sessions of rolling with people to realize that, okay, maybe I do deserve this thing. I think I'm doing all right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're sitting on somebody's chest like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at it.
I think rank, certain ranks, anything in the hierarchy that you achieve, you can, depending on what you're required to do on a daily basis, you can hide and play a facade of your competency level.
Oh,
You know what
yes,
I mean?
yes.
If you show up every day, like if you're coming to the gym, like I could get promoted to black belt and then never do it again, and I just tell people I'm a black belt, and you never know what I may or may not do.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But if you're exposed to it regularly, when you get that belt, it's harder, in my opinion. I didn't want my brown belt or my black belt when they were trying to give it to
Same.
me. I was just like, brother.
Any of them.
Oh, I'm happy right
I feel
where
like
I'm
you
at.
had to give me.
Oh, you're the best belt.
I was like, I didn't work hard enough. I don't know what, you see people and I think we're all going to feel that to some degree, that imposter syndrome, which is good as long as I don't run from it. I face it and say, all right, well, I just got to work, and I got to earn the right to hold that title, and I got to do it for the student. I mean, if I'm expected to give you instruction or expected to be a certain thing, like it takes work to do that.
Yeah.
And that's bothersome sometimes because you don't like the responsibility on your shoulders, but it also keeps you honest. And there's that thing that pressure and purpose that I need in my life to keep me honest. Humans will take the path of least resistance. We know it. You let me go, we'll wiggle our ways into the worst situations in our life over time just because it's easy. We know that.
Brian doesn't do that. Brian finds the hardest way to go.
I am the path of most
The path
there's
of
a
most
sidewalk
resistance.
or jungle.
Let's go to the jungle.
That's telling you
Sometimes
why I have a
being
problem.
hard-headed is the path of least resistance for certain characters.
Yeah.
He's like, why'd you pick the jungle? It was there.
There was a sidewalk right next to it.
No.
I like plants. There we go.
Okay.
So the message is come be a white belt and stay a white belt as long as you can.
Yeah.
Don't worry
as
about
long
it.
as you can.
Just keep working. Just keep working. Don't worry about the hierarchy.
I remember
There's
he's
no
talking
increase
like
in pay.
Yeah,
Just pain.
everybody's talking about belts, but it's gonna sound stupid because you guys are up there, but the first stripe I got on my belt, I couldn't believe it. One, I was like, "What? Don't put that on me. I don't even know what that is." And so when it got put on, I was like, "Okay, all right." And then I did notice things changed a little bit, but really, I went out to the truck and really had to look at it a little bit and stare at it, because you think about it and you're like, you don't realize how hard it is for just even that first step, the first step of coming in the door. So because a lot of people will drive by this place, right? And they'll drive by and they'll look, and they may even come in. They come in the door and then they look at the mat. But getting from there to the dressing room is another whole step. Getting from the dressing room to the mat is another whole step. Once you get on the mat, engaging for the first time, knowing absolutely nothing, right, is another whole thing. But then you go on for a little while, and then they acknowledge you. Hey, thanks for coming in. Hey, you're awful at jiu-jitsu, but here you go. Here's the next little thing. It kind of sucks you in. You think about it, and it just kind of highlights a little bit of that effort. So I'm excited to see what it looks like at different belts. I have heard that, I've heard the rumor that they put a blue belt on you, and then then you start to see what everybody's jiu-jitsu looks like, right?
No, then you quit.
Which is great, right? Or you just totally could just disappear.
Yeah, you disappear.
I've done it. I'm there.
You can ask Jada about that. She got her blue
I do
belt
quit. I
and-
go try jujitsu every 2 months and I'm gone. It is what it is.
She
The
got her
warm-ups
blue
be
belt, I
taking
didn't
me
see her
out.
again for like 2 years.
Yeah.
You get that. The blue belt, the teleportation belt.
You made it. You made it. Once you get blue belt, you made it.
What you're saying about people coming in and taking that step, soldier or not, soldier, civilian, whatever your background is,
Yeah.
I think it's important for us as some of the leaders in this gym, right, in one way or another, to remember and be empathetic to these people coming in. We take it for granted sometimes because I'm so used to this environment, like it's not that big a deal. But there was a time when I had butterflies in my stomach coming every day just for regular old class. And it was a lot to do with my ego, a lot to do with pride, a lot to do with a lot of things. And it was like an event for me. Like, I'm going to the Major League Olympics of class today. And that's how I felt.
Yep.
Now imagine somebody that maybe has never maybe they're not as exposed to athletics or been a soldier like me, and common for them to deal with these physical environments, right? It's probably going to be worse. So there is a lot of anxiety that goes along with it, getting past the discomfort of interpersonal space, sweating on each other, all these things that are inherent with jiu-jitsu and grappling in general. Like, I try to remember, and I know you guys do a good job of it too, that how important it is to think about these guys that come in and do that. And I tell them, thank you. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for spending your time and your dime.
Jasper is probably the best at it.
Yeah, we know
goes
how
out
much
of
they
his
go
way.
through to get in here, right? And people, it's not convenient for people. This is an inconvenience. You could easily not suffer the pain, sweat, tears, and the money spent here. You could easily get away with not doing it. And they do it anyway.
But I truly appreciate that you do that.
I'm
So,
just going to follow up with that because I know a lot of military men, once they retire, they say that they miss the camaraderie. So how's that helped you guys like continue to come and just get past that anxiousness, that nervousness, or like the struggles that you have to know that there are people, especially in this gym, that have done what you've done, that understand what you're going through?
We hate each other here.
Okay.
It's awful. I don't know. It's just a massively toxic environment. It's the exact opposite.
This is a place for those who enjoy sucking.
Yeah.
Come to.
Yeah. If you're okay with
That's
failure.
jiu-jitsu, period. You got to enjoy being horrible at something.
No, but it's amazing to have a group of people that come in and understand, what you're going through. Whether it's civilian or veteran, it doesn't matter. Everybody's struggling through something, and it's acknowledged here. It's acknowledged on the mat. It's acknowledged off the mat. I think marble probably one of the best things that we do here, and I get really excited about is we do an open mat. So you've got people from all over, and then you see after the mat is over, right, in the aftermath, right? So we are, it's a shameless plug, right? After the mat, you see people just sitting around, and maybe something wasn't working, right? So they've, one of the black belts or brown belts or whoever has grabbed purple belts, has grabbed somebody up, and I mean, you've done it 1,000 times with me, John. Sometimes I think you look across the mat and you could see something's going on, and you'll pull me in and we'll work on something, or maybe we'll just roll, right? And we'll just roll, and then you can tell through the tempo, like how it's going.
Kind of raise.
So we missed you today.
Yeah, we raise each other up,
Oh,
and
definitely.
you can grab pretty much anybody in here, and they get it. So it's been great to have that support structure that maybe you don't have. That's maybe not as structured outside of this, outside of the four walls here.
I wish I could speak on it intelligently about the psychological part of this. I can't. I probably could if I researched a little bit. But you ever heard the people talk about trauma bonds?
Yeah.
Experience in the military, or
Yeah.
even people that you don't even get along with. If you went through something hard together where you had constant exposure to each other, like you have a bond, right? And this exposed hardship that we experience here together all the time, there's a trauma bond that goes into it. And whether, even if I don't hang out with the people all the time, you have this just little tribal setting occasionally in here. Like there is a camaraderie that is built that's undeniable. And if I see people still showing up, it helps me. Right, it helps me keep going because he's going,
Yeah.
right, and even you might say, well, I'm a black belt, I've been doing it longer, it might be easier. I feel like it's harder for me now to keep going than it was when I was more ambitious, right? So I see other guys going, especially guys that have a lot of the limitations that I might have, and I'm like, well, I keep going then, right? It doesn't matter if me and you are best of friends. I see it, and you raise me up, even indirectly, right? So this is bonds that are built in here. And I know you suffered what I've suffered. Yeah. You're going through it, and you showed up regardless. Like, I know things about Harry. He's been in motorcycle wrecks, things where his body doesn't function like he wants it to. And I imagine how hard that could be and how easy it would be just to be like, screw this. I'm just not going to do it. And Harry still does it, right? I know James, his limitations, right? John is older, right? Right, we're getting older, right? You're a white belt and an older guy that's kind of coming into it late, which is just going to tell you, it's like, you don't have to do it, Brian. You don't have to do it. You just freaking not do it. Just
I hear that every day in my head. You don't have to.
You're a respected man without jiu-jitsu,
Right.
right? Yeah. So there's so many reasons that we could not do it, but I don't think you would be happy with yourself. And the amount of joy that comes from knowing that I've proven myself on a regular basis, and when I don't want to prove myself, I see that you're still doing it. So you give me a little spark of fire that tells me, I'll keep going. I'm going too. Well, I don't know what that is, and I don't know exactly how to explain it. Trauma bonds might not be correct, but there's something there.
It's close enough. Well, you come in, you look. I'm once again picking on John's class. I love it because you come in, you see Kenny, you see Matt Mook, and you see some of these guys. They were introduced to it. They're older. They don't show up a lot, but they show up for the BJJ over 40 class. Yeah. That's their clique. That's their tribe. Yep. They come in for that Saturday class. They look over and they's like, and you're there. the morning crew. Those of us who are have insomnia, insane.
You know,
that wake up at 5 a.m. so we can come in here and get our butts kicked nice. You know, start our day off with sweat.
I'm one of those. I don't
You
like
know what I'm
it.
saying?
It makes me
Exactly.
good. It makes me good.
I
Exactly.
remember when there was me, James, and Jimmy.
Yep.
And that was it. Every once in a while, someone else would show up, but it was us three.
You guys are like 20 deep now, aren't you?
Yeah.
About 15. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we average. But we were the
Still
three.
avoiding no gi.
Yes.
I mean,
There-
easier
that's a
to do.
different
Look,
tribe.
it starts with the word
That's
no.
a different tribe.
It starts with the word no. But
That is a
I mean,
different
that being
animal.
said, but one of the things that keeps me coming back, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, but when I come in, and it's all white belts, I know I have to teach them, because and he said it many times. I teach you to kill me, because by you learning to kill me, I have to get better.
Yeah.
And I see it with Z. I see it with James, CJ, Bully over here, Jasper.
Agreed, bully. Absolute bully.
I have to improve to try and kill them. But I also see them improving, because if I do something right today, I'm not getting it on Z tomorrow. It's not going to happen. I have to change a different route. Someone went and got small, so now I can just sit on his little ass. But other than that,
Oh, yeah,
I had to
trying sit on me against
improve
that bullshit.
so that I didn't have this little guy killing me constantly. I still ain't figured out this one, but I'm going to get there.
This
I'ma
is
get
a
there.
personification of that old saying, "Iron sharpens iron." From
Yes.
the Bible,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Definitely.
it's been around for so long for a reason, and
Yeah.
and you admit, and iron literally sharpens iron. You need something so hard going against the other surface to make it what it is, right? And literally, this is the personification of it.
And today's open mat was just, I walked in late. I didn't participate in open mat today.
It
But I walked in,
It was awesome.
it was awesome. There was 2 black belts on the mats, 5 brown belts on the mats, I think 4 purple belts on the mats. And I was just like, man, if white belts come in and enjoy this, there's so, because it's not structured, it's just that free time.
Yeah.
And they could have spent 3 rounds with the black belt and be like, hey, give me 10 minutes of a personal type stuff. It was amazing on the mats. What do we have, like 25 people on the mats today for an open
About
mat?
26, 27.
Yeah, and all these upper belts that are working with, the purples and the blues and the white. It is awesome to see. Absolutely beautiful.
Why are you giving away all my
things.
secrets? This is how I get private lessons.
Yeah, free private lessons. It really
Hey, bud, you
is,
want to
man.
roll? Like, really,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to steal something that you're going
But
to do to my
see
neck.
but to see the senior ranks treat, rolling, smashing, but then afterwards training and drilling and progressing, just rising the tide for everybody to get better simultaneously. Rising tide raises all boats.
And
I don't think I've ever been on the mat where something had been, a technique had been done to me by some, an upper belt. And then afterwards, they didn't immediately say, now let me show you how I did that.
Yeah.
That's huge. It's huge. And I don't think you get that in a lot of places. I think there's a certain hierarchy, and the hierarchy stays there, and that's just the way it is. But I've never felt that here, at all, in any way, shape, or form. I've always felt like I could ask. I could always ask a question of anybody in here.
Yeah.
And that really provides the comfort level. If we talk about getting over all the anxieties and things of the mat and stuff like that. That's one of the great things. I know I don't have to. I can make fun of myself in here, and I'm not worried about it. Right? Everybody's gonna
Don't
take
worry,
care
we'll
of
make fun of you too.
And I think
I
all
know,
of that
that's what I'm saying,
builds
yeah.
into the
That's what love
camaraderie,
looks like.
though.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
that give and take, the comfort of knowing. Like I joke about it, but rolling, like I am smaller now, I lost significant weight. When I'm rolling with bigger guys that are athletic, they trust me enough that I'm gonna defend or tap, and they're not holding back because of my size. I'm not holding back. I'm giving them what they got. They're giving me what I got, and at the end, it's all right. This was cool, or it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
All right, and it never stops. That's the other thing I love about jiu-jitsu. It is an ocean of information that changes with you. And that's the other part I don't think a lot of people really get. Most arts, you're going to learn certain things and then that's it. Now you can make those things better, but you can't add to it. You can't add a new kick. You can't add a new punch. You can't add it. But in jiu-jitsu, things that I did when I weighed 230, I now do differently at 165.
Yeah.
So technique done a different way. And then the same thing when I'm teaching. If I'm teaching to a guy that's 6 foot plus, I'm like, you might want to do it like this. Whereas the hobbits, we're going to do it like this. And they're like, why? Because different ers, right? And that's another part.
How deep it goes.
And yeah, and that's another reason I think when people say, what's the camaraderie? Well, I watch you guys learn. And I love watching when someone's teaching and you can just see the student pulling this and thinking about, like Harry and Jasper, I'll pick on them because they're coaching now. So I watch them watch other coaches to think about, okay, how would I teach this or how will I apply this technique with different ers, right? For my older or my smaller, or my less athletic, how do I show them this technique and make it make sense? And that's all the fun part, and also the chess. And then like when I don't know about other places, y'all can or cannot, but when we get to our coaches meeting and we have these conversations, it's so we can improve what we're doing to give a better product to the student. So one, for the coaches, it helps us with our camaraderie because we get to talk and discuss and have a panel forum, but then we come out and give a better product to you guys, and then we kind of sit back and watch and see how it goes. So I think there's layers, kind of like what Brian said. We talk about the layers of what we're doing and how we're doing it, and just to get it out there.
I think all of us understand too, like, this isn't to be the best at fighting or the best at grappling in general. It says it on the sign, like Combat Wellness Center, right? To me, that kind of speaks to just making you a well-rounded human, able to deal with adversity, able to deal with your ego that everybody's gonna experience, able to deal with the frustration you're gonna have through the learning process. And we keep in mind, like, when I go against someone, yeah, I might have certain goals in mind. We always change our goals and our strategies according to whatever task that we're trying to accomplish. But the overall goal is always the same. You and I are both getting better together, right? Yeah. So it's not me beating you or you beating me. It's, am I getting some benefit out of this? And as long as I keep that mindset, we're all improving. The rising tide raises all boats. If I count that as my umbrella mission statement, I'm always benefiting. I'm always benefiting. Both parties, right? They're always benefiting. I think we do a good job of that here. It's not just about, if somebody's training for competition, we got a heavy competitor. Even John's a heavy competitor. If he's getting ready for competition, we're going to get more singularly focused on things, right? But at the same time, that's benefiting all of us involved, right? For John to work to do certain things, specific tasks within the grappling, right? But the rest of us, every time I set foot on the mat and I tell these guys, no matter what happened today, remember, you are benefiting just by showing up. You overcame the first fight that you were talking about earlier. You got here. That's a fight. That's a mental fight before I even knew you was coming.
Yeah, fighting
right?
with sheets.
So you're constantly programming yourself. You're conditioning yourself to face adversity over and over and over and over again at different levels of the process. So this is a great environment for that, man. I appreciate you, like guys. Me and CJ were on the mats today. He's talking about the 2 black belts, and we rolled together, and I appreciated it. Like, despite anything that goes, my favor or his favor, I appreciated it. I realized the benefit, right? And that's a mindset that we all need to embrace more, is see the benefit of the failures, of the learning process, of not being good at something. Go ahead and embrace it. Go ahead and embrace it, right? That's going to make your life a lot more manageable if you embrace that.
Well, to kind of touch upon what you said earlier, Z, that iron sharpens iron, it's absolutely true. You have to respect someone that puts himself here because the easy thing to do is not be here, right? The easy thing to do is not come to the classes and just to be lazy and watch TV. But win, lose, or draw with whoever you face, you have to respect them, because the easy thing was not to show up. The hard thing was to put yourself on the mat and go against you. Trust me, every time I see you, the easier thing is to just not make eye contact.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Everybody on the table just felt that one.
I don't know. Didn't see it.
Don't make eye contact.
And that's why I tell you, it's like every time you're on the mat, since we always don't train in the same classes, I want to test myself against you because of your size and your skill set and your technique. And however it goes, it goes. But I think, like you said, that both parties are ready for it because we just challenge each other. And, you know, that's what's so unique about Jiu-Jitsu too, is that two individuals can be so intense and go so hard, and whatever happens, happens. And at the end, you know, they're friends, you know, but it would be a disservice if we didn't give it all that we had during that match, because we're trying to make each other better. You know, James and I had a pretty intense roll the other day.
He did. I was.
And at the end of it, we were friends again, and we slapped hands. We're like, man, like that was a pretty intense roll.
Those are fun though. Man,
Yeah,
those are
no,
fun.
no, no, we
Yes,
weren't.
those are fun.
Only a warrior can make a warrior.
Yeah. Yeah. We look forward to those all the
Yeah.
time.
That's why I'm buying a vest. I'm rolling in it, 40 pounds. Y'all not gonna keep just moving me.
I just want to give out a quick thank you to our sponsor, Black Rifle Coffee Company in Clarksville, Tennessee. Black Rifle Coffee Company is a veteran-owned coffee shop that prides itself on serving premium coffee to those who love America. Black Rifle Coffee Company are committed to supporting veterans, law enforcement, and first responders. They are located at 2570 Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Give them a go. Okay, so we've all kind of talked about this already, but just like if you were to tell somebody who's like, hey, I want to try this, like a veteran, someone who's training that's currently in the military, or somebody that just wants to try, like, how would you describe how Jiu-Jitsu has helped you and like the benefits of to keep going and to keep trying it?
One of the things that, and I can't speak to the female side of it, Jada, you may have to do that, but one of the things that when guys come in and they're in that first trial 3 classes that you guys offer, is I let them know that Jiu-Jitsu is like, society's different now. Men have this different thing, and they talk about toxic blah, 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 blah. But it's a place for you to do man stuff. Like, feel that inner warrior, that inner, I gotta go
The
do
warrior
something.
ethos.
I need to do something extremely physical that men don't have as much in today's society. And I tell them, this is a great place for you to release that energy and embrace that energy in such a control, like you were saying, in a controlled fight with somebody who cares just like you. And so I always make sure I point that out to the newer people, the guys especially. And hopefully after they've gone, you can speak to the female side of that. I'd really like to have some of that too.
Agree. Most of us need that to some degree.
Yeah.
And if you don't feed that in us in a healthy way,
Exactly.
I think you're
exactly.
You're going to
that's
find a
when,
negative outlet.
that's when
Yeah,
toxic masculinity type things can be a problem.
Yes.
Right?
It's the healthy. I need to add that verbiage into my. And when I'm talking, it's the healthy way to utilize.
Yeah, men are wired a certain way, and
Yeah.
especially
It's a great outlet.
we're talking about veterans as soldiers. I think we do a good job of stuffing those feelings away for a long time. The ones that are more nuanced, so we stuff them away. And I've talked about this successfully in other talks with other people, and my wife, and in my own mental health process of recovery. But like, no matter what's going on, like you're a 5-pound bag, and the seams are going to bust, right? And when you have those feelings in you, they're going to be in there somewhere, and you can choose to avoid them, choose to disregard them, choose to ignore them. It's not going to be your choice. They're going to come out. They're going to take part in your life. Whatever you're stuffing down, it's going to come out, right? And if you don't get things out, and it's not always easy, if you don't get things out or have a healthy outlet, right? Like, that's going to come out. What is that going to look like? Is that going to look like you avoiding things by numbing yourself with chemicals or work that's going to slowly sabotage your life? Or is that going to look like outburst when someone hurts your feelings and you turn it into something bigger than what maybe it should be or what's reasonable? Yeah, it'll look like any of that, and it's going to sabotage your life. So let's go ahead and get these things out here in a healthy way, right? And you can be mad. I have been mad so many times, and even sad, because of my journey in jiu-jitsu, or because basically something that I could have controlled anyway, right? And you deal with it, right? And me constantly exposing myself to dealing with those emotions in a healthy way, in a more controlled way, right, is making me better. It was like training wheels, essentially, to me, dealing with emotions. And now when bigger things happen in life that might be bigger than, hey, John swept me in jiu-jitsu, all right, that bothered me. But then something else happens major in my life, I've already been practicing with my training wheels of dealing with emotions. And you're like, probably people watching this would say, you're an adult. What are you talking about training wheels for emotions? I'm telling you, man, there's people that are my age, me in particular, it's probably in my 40s where only in my 40s, and I'm 45 now, have I started to discover that I may understand my emotions a little bit in my 40s.
Yeah.
And I know that might sound ridiculous to some people. And it's just, I don't know what other people's perspective are, but that was just me. I wasn't forced to do it until I got here.
And a lot of people didn't get the structure, like especially us, with the graybeards.
Graybeard people.
We were I think it's funny because what is now masculine toxicity was just being a man. That was my era. You shut up, you do these things, you open doors, you say this. That was what it was to be a man. But I'm not gonna go down that rabbit
That's
hole.
a different episode.
But that's definitely
And if you have a
yeah, and exactly.
Yes.
It's like, what does man do? You got a problem, you stuff it down, and then you cover it up with bourbon or a cigar or something.
That's right.
Harry, what would you tell somebody to get them in the door?
Referencing the military, something that you have to do in the military, you have to be able to make split decisions. You have to be able to react. Normal day-to-day life, that is not necessarily there. But it's something you train to do, and it's something that you need. That is something that you will get in here. Because if you don't make decisions and you don't react or be proactive, you're going to get choked.
Yeah, you can't be passive.
Especially by the hires here. They will choke you until you either tap or you go to sleep. I mean, and again, that's another choice.
And they'll laugh at you afterwards.
And they'll laugh and make fun of you, and that's part of
Shake your legs.
That's part of the camaraderie.
it's part of the camaraderie. That builds the camaraderie. But you have to be able to make decisions, and once you get out, most of your jobs are humdrum. You don't have to think about it. You just do it, and there's no decision making. Here you have to do that.
Becoming weaker.
Yeah.
So you keep that skill set intact. You practice it, and trust me, if you don't react and you don't do what you're supposed to do, somebody will tell you to get off your knees and do what you're supposed to do. Not saying who that
I
is.
feel attacked.
Me too.
Get off your knees.
Good job. CJ.
I think it's just about trying something new. There's so many different benefits to jiu-jitsu. And what's great is that you get such a workout from it, but it also teaches you how to be more proficient at defending yourself. It's not going to make you invincible, but I mean, it's going to give you a confidence, a certain aura about yourself. If someone is a bit hesitant to come into the gym because maybe they're older, and I've talked to people like on the outside that say, oh, I've always thought about trying it, but I'm worried about getting hurt. There's always that danger and that risk of getting hurt. I mean, you can get hurt just walking down the street. You roll an ankle and you can be out for, and you can have to go to the doctor and you're in a cast or whatever, but I think if you find the right gym, and I think if you find the right temperament of training partners, they call it the gentle art, and you can make it as gentle or as aggressive as you want to, and I tell them, it's like, hey, find a gym. If they have an open mat, come out to it, speak to an instructor, and just the hardest thing can be to walk through the door. It can be very intimidating. And I did that when I was younger, and I didn't really understand it all. But now, I'm 39 years old, and I don't know if it would be much harder to walk through the door at 39 than it was at 21. And I think people just have to kind of take that chance and try it out. Sometimes it's not for everyone, but I haven't met someone who's given it an honest try and been at the right gym and been around the right people that says, yeah, it wasn't for me. But I have met people that says, yeah, like I went and, maybe they were 45 or 50, and it's like some 25-year-old strangled me and hurt my neck, and I went to the doctor and I never went back. Well, that can happen, but once again, that's about choosing the right training partners. And making sure to speak to the instructors and let them know your goals. Some people want to compete, some people just want to get the blood flowing and move around. So like I said, finding the right gym, finding the right training partners, which, my opinion's biased, but that's right here. That's right here at Henzo's.
You want to answer?
No. My pitch is simple. I don't know if you guys remember the old show Nip Tuck. I always ask people, I said, what don't you like about yourself? It throws them off. And they're like, what? What don't you like about yourself? And I was like, well, I'm out of shape. You should do jiu-jitsu. It'll help you get back in shape. I got a little self-esteem. You should do jiu-jitsu. It'll help you fix that. You'll feel a lot more confident, and you'll like yourself a little bit better because you found a challenge. You give me something you don't like, I got a way to fix it with jiu-jitsu. And then they're like, well, they'll laugh and say, you say that about everything. And I said, well, come try it. And it just becomes a simple challenge. I keep it really simple. It's like, what don't you like about yourself? You ask somebody that if you haven't, and watch them. One, they're going to be like, I like everything about me. Then I said, well, then you should come do jiu-jitsu.
So you'll leave and you won't like anything about you.
I'd say for serving people that are currently serving in the military, it's you have to have something that isn't the military, right? You need to step outside of your comfort zone, out of the area, get out and meet people, integrate with civilians, and this is a great place to do that, right? So it gives you that in an environment that you understand, right? So it's very structured here, right? It's very structured like the military, and a lot of, especially the younger guys, right? We've been talking a lot about the older guys, and we'll talk about that in a second, but the younger guys, they need something else. Also, it's a great place to find a mentor who isn't your boss. It's an amazing place to meet a group of people that are all like-minded, but also not just like-minded, maybe they're not like-minded. And you get exposure to all of those types of things outside of the military structure. I think I didn't venture too much outside of the military structure over 21 years, and that kind of hurt me in the long run. For retirees, it's an amazing way to get in touch with that inner warrior that you're used to. If you did 20 years in the military, however long before you retired, now you're out, and I see a lot of retirees, as soon as they get out, they feel like they've reached that level now, so now they can sit back and be retired. And I think everybody here at the table knows what happens when you just retire. You've got peers or whatever, you die, right? You die,
yeah.
right? You shrivel up and you die, you get massively fat, you get useless, you're not operating on the same level that you were operating on. This is a good way to touch that safely in a nice, safe environment and really feel that kind of strength and warrior mindset again. Also, it's just a great place where you can find yourself as a mentor. I mean, like I said, I'm a white belt in jiu-jitsu, but I've done some things in life, and I find people around the mat will ask me questions, and I can mentor them through those things, right? I may not be able to teach them a proper armbar, but I can teach them some of the things that I might have known over this however long that I've been doing it. And then for civilians, like, what an amazing way for you to touch that part of yourself that maybe you didn't touch, right? And not even to talk about the vocations that come along with things that you might need this, but we're talking about, security guards, right? We're talking about police, any type of law enforcement in any way, shape, or form. If you don't do this, I feel like you're leaving not just a tool out of your toolbox, you're not even bringing the toolbox with you. Yeah. I mean, 90% of your engagements don't have to do with your firearm, right? And then physical engagements, how often does that happen? How often has somebody had to put somebody in cuffs as law enforcement? It happens all the time. And how often has somebody resisted? And how much less damage could you have done to this person who's obviously, this is the worst day of their life. You're not there because it's their birthday party. And it's a terrible existence, and you could hurt that person, or they could hurt themselves, because really what happens is they end up hurting themselves, right? Or you could kind of fix that. I think that's definitely one of the reasons I think law enforcement and that type of people should be doing it. And then if you're just a civilian, it's not part of your vocation, like, get in here and touch that part of yourself that you've been avoiding your entire life. I know that sounds weird, but definitely reach in, internally, right? Harry, you need to stop laughing right now. It's not that funny, right?
Straight face.
Way to go, John. But maybe it's something that you haven't. Maybe you've been afraid to do something like that. Maybe you've been nervous to do that. I would say this is one of those places that you can feel comfortable and confident that everybody's going to look out for you, and you get to feel what it feels like to chase that inner warrior a little bit.
So just to take the mystique away, jiu-jitsu, we're using that terminology because that's just common terminology and we're used to it, but it's really just grappling. You're trying to close the distance with someone, get hold of them, ground them, pin them, and control them so that you can isolate their neck or their limbs to break them, and we don't really break them, obviously. All right. So that's all you're doing. Now, what it takes to do that, there's a lot of internal struggle and things that you got to deal with, and then of course the external struggle of controlling that opponent or that other person that you're playing with. Those things benefit everybody because there's so much adversity that you face in that process of learning how to do that. All right, that life is hard. If I had to put it simply, and that's what I'm going to do, life is fighting in some form or fashion. You need to expose yourself and practice fighting so that you can be ready for that, so you can be conditioned to be successful during the fight. And that's not just physical, mental, emotional, and so on, right? Jiu-Jitsu has all that. Jiu-Jitsu has all that. So life is hard. Learn to fight.
Nice.
I've told several people, especially people I work with. I work with a new job office, much older people, and we've already had the discussion. It's already been 3 weeks because they asked what I do, for hobby, and I tell them about it. And one of the things I've told people before is that as you get older, think about the time when you what's the last thing that you learned how to do, like you actually engaged your brain and learned how to do something. And I think, for most people, once you get, further along in life, if you've got a family, whatever, you're not really picking up hobbies and doing things anymore. You're not learning to play an instrument. You're not even reading a book, doing something to engage your brain. So there's been a lot of studies about the positive benefits of learning as you get older to keep your brain healthy. I have a couple family members. They've since passed, but they suffered from dementia. And you look back, and a lot of it had to do with, you can see it, like they just stopped.
Being stagnant.
They got stagnant. We talked about that with retirement. It's the same thing, you stop learning. And so this is a good place to come and continue to learn in a safe, controlled environment. It's a lot of positive just benefits on the brain for me, and that's why I'll continue doing it. That's what I'll continue to preach to people. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Jasper is predisposed right now, but so for the
Damn it, John.
Yeah, for the women's side of it, because there is a lot of women correctional officers, current military and retired, and that's another episode. But I can talk a little bit about that, talking with them, and just being someone who's done this since 14 and fighting the soldiers and the veterans. Most of the women here have gone through things that have been horrible, effed up situations. They do it. They come to this door. They feel safe around these people because they're taking their power back. And that's one big thing that I preach to all there's more girls now. I wrestled and they're like, oh, you wrestled? Yes. It's taking your power back. It's like, okay, I'm coming in here. I may not tap anybody, but I'm not getting tapped. I survived because most of the women are smaller. We're smaller than the men. And knowing that I can fight this big man off of me, I can survive in the street and I can get away. And that has been one of the reasons I preach Jiu-Jitsu is self-defense. Yes, we learn fancy back kicks and all that stuff, but at the core of Jiu-Jitsu, it is self-defense, and you're gonna feel powerful. My favorite thing when I first started out was beating up on those cocky soldiers that came in here and be like, oh yeah, you're about to get whooped up on a girl who's 15,
Agreed, she does that.
She still tries to do that.
I mean, I'm 24 now, so it's more of a fight, but yeah, so just talking to the women about that, and just, they're like, I feel powerful. It is another thing about clearing their mind, because again, they've gone through situations, they've been put in situations, they also have PTSD. But it's just like knowing that, okay, I survived 5-minute round with the biggest man here. I'm going to get off that man's going to get off me in the middle of the street. I'm going home to my family. So really it's just power, just taking your power back, being confident in yourself. So I will continue to preach that to young girls, and I'll continue to let them know that your self-worth, your self-confidence comes from you. And that's one of the big reasons that I did wrestling and I continue to do this, is because I was the nail today. Everybody was the hammer, but I was like, okay, I'm surviving these rounds. I'm making them work. I'm not just giving them these submissions. And that's really what it is.
The girls and women here are strong.
Tough.
Mentally, physically, emotionally.
The prettiest young men I know.
Oh my God. They are monsters. They are absolute monsters. And I made a joke. I was joking with my wife the other day. about about I saw there was, I don't know who it was, but there's somebody's daughter was in here. Somebody's daughter was in here, and she was little, and she was just absolutely smoking some of the boys that were in here. And I was like, that girl, no, their parents are never, her mom and or father are never going to feel bad about her leaving the door. Like, because they know it's not going to be a daddy, I'm in trouble situation. It's like, daddy, bring your shovel.
Yeah.
Like, it's that type of situation. They're and confidence wise, all the women in this gym are extremely confident, and they're strength is a word, and it's a little bit cliche to say, oh, strong women, but really not. It's these women define that, you know. And I think it's jiu-jitsu. Females in general are just something different, right?
Yeah.
Just something different. Their ability to, I mean, like everybody's ability to, once you come in here, to problem solve, but man, their ability to
better at it.
problem way better at it.
Yeah.
They problem solve their
Well,
way
they-
right around your neck until you're unconscious.
They process faster.
Yes.
One of the biggest compliments I've gotten was from a brown belt, and I'm just now getting back into it. And he's like, "You're making me work harder," and that's all I want to hear. It's just like, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. I'm not giving it easy. It's just because, again, I know if I was ever in that situation, I'm going home. So
Yep.
It's pretty easy for me. No, so
He must have been being nice.
but
yeah, y'all are funny.
no, I want to thank everybody for coming in. It was an awesome discussion. Thank you, Jada, for leading it. It's kind of cool just to be a guest in this setting. We're gonna wrap it up. If anybody has a quick word of
Yeah.
advice they'd like to give, we're gonna start at this end. What advice would you give someone starting out, or
Who's
just a newer person in business?
Somebody starting out. If I can go back and tell my starting out self, I mean, I don't know. I was hooked from the get go, so I didn't need to convince myself to keep coming back. So we have some people that have come in, and I've told them, you know, on their first class or whatever, ask them if they enjoy it. It's yes or no. I'm like, well, just keep coming back. And it sounds so cliche because that's what everyone always says. You just got to keep coming back. But it's true. You don't see your growth, but everyone else does. So, yeah. So I have to tell my wife that, as we all know. She was training and she's not, but I keep telling her she just needs to come back, and I'll keep telling her that. I'll drag her over here again eventually. She'll be back here.
Saturday women's
But yeah,
class.
but it's not. And don't. I don't want to say don't chase goals. You chase your goals, yes, but don't like chase the belt. Don't chase things like that. Just come in for the knowledge. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about somebody else's path. Worry about your own path. Don't worry about somebody's advancing faster than you. Whatever. Just do your thing. Come in and learn.
Yeah, it's your journey.
It's no comparisons.
So yeah, to piggyback off that, I'll just say, come in. Don't worry about winning anything. Don't look at it as I'm winning something. Look at it as a process of learning. So lose a lot. That's what I say a lot. Lose a lot. Just lose a lot on purpose. See what happens. Put your hand on the stove. Oh, it burnt. Yeah. Keep learning. Right. So lose a lot. Keep learning.
I mean, and not to quite caveat on that, but to add to that, like, you're going to get your first wins right off the bat, right? So the first match you're going to have is with your couch. Second match you're going to have is with the door, then the car, then the front door here. Once you've gotten those gold medals, you're never going to forget it. You're never going to forget it.
Yep.
For any woman or girl that wants to try it, just come. Like, literally, I still get my tummy rumbles when we have to do warm-ups, but like I just know if I get through it, I'm gonna feel so much better at the end of the day. You just have to get through it, and you just have to keep coming, because you'll see the improvement.
My advice is kind of in between. They're all talking about, getting you through the door. My advice for people that are trying to figure out how they can get locked in, find a training partner. Plain and simple. Find you a consistent training or drilling partner. Somebody, some people used to call it frenemy. So if we can't drill together, then find somebody that pushes you when you roll, and that will help motivate you to come in and continue to take the next step. So I always say, Find your one or five, but find them.
I would just say find something that allows you to be a better version of yourself, and Jiu-Jitsu does that for me. It sharpens my mind, it sharpens my body, builds great relationships, so Jiu-Jitsu helps me be the best version of myself.
For me, it's lack of boredom. He trained me before I did jiu-jitsu, and he'll tell you I was good for a couple months, and then I'd get bored and it'd go to crap. I've been doing this for almost 9 years. I learn something every day, and I'm not bored. I haven't been bored. Can't get bored because they won't let me. So for me, if you want to exercise and not be bored, I found nothing better.
What's the question? I'm sorry. You're
Advice.
Damn it, John.
Have a new guy come tomorrow morning. He was just knocking on our doors. Told him don't worry about anything, pricing or nothing. And he was like, I just want to get started. And I was like, he's a 6 a.m. guy.
Yes.
I'll see.
But it was like three
Love
free
it.
ones. Don't even worry about what the prices cost. And so you're gonna have a new guy tomorrow. We'll fill some paperwork out.
He's gonna have a new guy tomorrow.
All right, you're gonna have a new guy
That's that.
tomorrow. Z.
It's just,
But
I'm gonna kill.
well, the question is, what advice would you give somebody to get in here? And it sounds like
Yeah, I told him it's free.
there you go.
Come through the door. It's free.
Yeah.
You get and here's
Yeah.
the deal. We don't choke anybody until they start paying.
There you go.
Huh?
There you go.
We.
Yeah.
That must be a new rule.
No, you don't even remember your first classes.
I didn't get that.
Absolutely remember my first class.
I think everybody.
I don't think I ever choked anybody in the Navy gear.
Okay, all right. Well, I just want to thank this wonderful panel for coming out and answering my call to be on this podcast as we bring it back. If you're here at Hinto Gracie Clarksville, thank them for their service. Talk to them, get their stories. Amazing people. And I really appreciate them. And I learned so much about them just being here with them, being there on the mats, rolling with them. It's just a lot. So, and we just want to wish you a happy 4th and a safe 4th. And thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.